Hi there, welcome back to the channel. Today you join me at the storage yard and it's a tinkering video, and it was requested by Phil, one of my subscribers. So we're going to be concentrating today on the skylights and the windows. So let's get on with it and I'll show you a few tips along the way. So one of the first things we're going to tackle is this. If you've got one of these skylights like me, they're a nuisance. They just, all they do is clog up muck, and they're a pain in the backside to clean unless you remove them. So I'm going to show you first of all how to remove it and the tools you're going to need, and then I'll show you how I go about cleaning it. So let's get on with that straight away. So what we're going to need, and this is what I highly recommend, is a set of Torx screwdrivers. Now it'll all become apparent in a minute why screwdrivers work better than this small socket things. We're going to need a T9, and we're going to need a T20 as well. So they're the two that we're going to be using to do this little task. Now you can buy these on Amazon reasonably cheap. I think I paid about 12 quid for these roughly. I'll find them and put a link in the description below if you've not got a set. But for me it's got to be Torx screwdrivers, it works best. Now the first thing I like to do is actually open it up. It makes it easier to remove from the actual Caravan itself. Now, taking the smaller one, which is the T9 Torx, we're going to insert it in and we're going to unscrew all the 4 screws. Now, some of these screws might pop out, so be careful, you don't want to lose them. Some will actually retain with inside it. So I'll get on with that just off camera and then I'll come back to you when I've unscrewed them. Now, all 4 are undone, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this outwards like so, and it'll drop. Don't worry, it still won't cause any damage to it. Now, with these screws have stayed in, but what I might do is try and get them actually out. One's come out on the other side already. So I'm going to do that on both sides and then I'll show you what we do next. All 4 are actually now removed, and what we can do is we can lift up the actual skylight and just place it to the side. Now, we're going to go outside now and we're going to get our ladders and retrieve it. So taking our T20, we're now going to insert it through the hole at the top and down to the bottom until we reach the Torx screw, and then we're going to unscrew it, and we're going to do that on all 4 sides. Now generally these screws don't come out, they do remain and retain within the actual bracket itself, but just be mindful you don't lose them. So we're going to do that to the other side as well, because that's now removed. So now we've removed the handles and the locking mechanism. Now we've got 2 sections and we want to remove this one from the outer section. It's quite simple, it just lifts off like so. Now if you're any doubt as to how it goes back and you can't remember, it's dead easy, because it runs parallel with these 2 grooves in the actual skylight here and here. So you would just put it on like so. So what we're going to do now is give it a good clean, and I'll show you what I do. So taking some warm soapy water, I like to use a terry cloth, and also I like to use a brush as well. I have some detail brushes. I've mentioned these in previous videos. So the first thing we're going to do is get rid of the flying ant that's stuck in there. Goodbye. I'm going to submerge this in our warm soapy water. Now don't make the water too hot, it can cause damage to it and it could warp it, because it's quite soft plastic this. So we're going to give it a good clean, and once I've done this we'll move on to the second part. I'll come back to you in a minute when I've done it. Now with the skylight itself, what I like to do is put a little bit of watered down crud buster on. It just loosens the grit a little bit, because you don't want to start going mad with it, because you could scratch it quite easily. That's one of the reasons why we've put a towel down on the table. It will protect it and stop it from scratching. once we've done this, now remember, a lot of times the actual edges here get really, really dirty. So I like to really give this a good scrub here. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to set them aside a moment and we're just going to dry them with a towel. So I'll do that off camera and we'll come back. Now once it's nice and clean, what I like to use is a bit of Caravan Magic window gem. I think it's a really good product, this. I've been impressed with it. I've been using it for a while. And yeah, all in all, I'm very happy with it. Just spray it on and use a very soft cloth like I'm using. Forgive me, the chickens are out. So if they're picking up on the camera, I do apologise. So basically, we're going to give this a good clean. I'll take a dry cloth now and we'll finish it off. And do it on the other side as well. Now you might notice there's a circular mark there. You're never going to get that off because that's actually scratches from this. So flip it over. I'm going to give it another good dose on this side. Make sure it's clean. So there we go, all nice and clean, and we're going to put it back together now. So as I said, it's very easy to do. What you have to remember is the grooves that are there, this faces in and slots in like so. Okay. Now the actual handles themselves can only go in one way because they're obviously shaped like a triangle, as is these grooves here. So we're going to place this in like so, and we're going to do the same as we did before, which is screw it down with the Torque 20 screwdriver. I'm just tightening up the last screw. Now, one important tip I can give you with this is do not over tighten these because you can crack the acrylic screw thread. So just tight enough like so, and it's good to go. And we're going to put that now back on the Caravan and get it buttoned up and ready for the next season. Before we actually put the skylight back in, I've just noticed how filthy this is. So I'm going to give this a good clean first of all, and I'm going to do an area about this wide from where the toothbrush is all the way round. That way I know that it's going to be nice and clean. Now in this groove here, what we can use is a toothbrush that can get some of it out for you. That's what I tend to use all the way along. It will bring it out. So I'll get on with that off camera and I'll show you the result. It's nice and clean in that particular area now. Really happy with that. All the grooves are nice and clean and it does look good. So I've just rested that on, so we're going to go inside and actually screw it down now. So in order to fit these, what you do is you have to lift it up like so and then locate it into the slot, because there is a slot there. And what we're going to do is put the first screw in. So I'll get on with that now and then I'll show you. So it's all screwed in now and it looks nice and clean, ready for the next season. Let's take a look at the next skylight. So when tackling the roof, this is what we're going to use. Bucket with some warm soapy water in it, and we're going to use a clean cloth, a detail brush, a toothbrush, and this little groove and vent brush. Now I've shown this on the channel before for cleaning awning rails. I'll leave a link to it in the description below if you're interested in purchasing one. Now the next thing you might think, whew, that's a bit brutal, scouring pad. But if you look, it's an old one that Juliet no longer uses. I've cleaned it up and I'm going to use it because it'll still be abrasive but not enough to damage, and that's what we're going to be using. You can use a sponge one if you want as well, but I've just got the plain old scourer. Tackle the skylights, make sure that you cover up your bed or any upholstery or carpet before you actually tackle the roof skylights. I've just partially covered it up just to give you an example. there is another sheet I'll put on before I start to clean. Okay, so we've covered up underneath so we're not going to get our upholstery wet. Little bit of crud buster. Around here. Now what I like to do first of all, go for the soft method first. I like to use my detail brush. Give it a good scrub. I tend to go a good 6 or 8 inches all the way around when I'm doing this one. Now of course you do a lot more preparation than this. For this is just demonstration purposes only in regarding the actual skylight itself. Just take your scourer as well. Don't go mad, like I said, and make sure it's an old one, don't get a brand new one on it. You will scratch everything. But we want to get underneath as much as possible and our way round. So, taking our cloth, we're going to use this as basically a rinser to take as much soap away from it as possible, like so. Now, rule of thumb, you would probably do this after you'd actually cleaned the whole of the roof, but you could do it either way. It depends on the way you feel it would work for you. Now in the actual slot here, what I like to do, take the cloth and slowly fit it in and just run it around and try and get as much of the crud out as possible. You're never going to get it all out, but you're going to get quite a bit, see. And that's what I like to do, all the way around. See, it gets it all out. And make sure you dry it off as well, but you can see all the muck that's come off there just by doing that. See, in there now. So it's done a really good job. So I'm going to now show you how best to try and clean behind the hinged area. So I'll just move the camera and we'll have a look at that now. So this is probably one of the most difficult areas to clean. Just get rid of the leaves. Now, sometimes you can get away with just using a brush like so, but doesn't always get in there. Now I've used baby's bottle brushes and things like that in the past, and that tends to get in here quite well, but unfortunately I've misplaced it. I can't find it anywhere, the brush that I've got. So I'm going to be using this one. I'm going to try my best to get in there and get as much of the crud out as possible. Also we've got a toothbrush as well, which we can have a go at. But it is very fiddly, because you can't take the hinge off, which makes it even more difficult. So I've loosened as much of the crud as I possibly can. Now to flush that out, what I do is I drop the sunroof and close it, and then I flush it out with the hose pipe, and the mild pressure from the hose pipe does generally lift a lot of the mess. Now, one of the things that gets neglected the most, I've seen, when people say, oh, I cleaned it a few months ago, and they've got these big black streaks down here and here, and it's due to the window rubbers. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up the window like so, and we're going to clean all the way around here and get these window rubbers nice and clean, so they're not going to collect muck and basically dribble it down the side of your van, hence the black streaks. So we'll have a go at that now. So taking a cloth, what we're going to do is we're going to spray some of the watered down crud buster onto the cloth. We're not going to spray it direct, because if we miss we could catch the curtains and it could bleach them, so you don't want to do that. And then just slowly run it round like so. Give it a good clean. And don't forget to do underneath here in the window as well, so that's where a lot of your muck collects. So there we go, that's just the window rubber, so you can see where you get your black streaks from because it's not clean. So what I like to do now is take a dry cloth and dry it off, so we're going to do that now. So we're drying it off, get rid of as much moisture as you possibly can. Make sure you get underneath the rubber as much as you possibly can without damaging it. Give it a good dry and clean. And again around the inside of the window edge. Now once that's nice and clean, we're going to be storing, or maybe not, you might be going away, but even so, what I would recommend you do now is get yourself some silicone, either spray or you can use the actual waterproof silicone that I've shown you on the channel before. Get that and smear it on and it's good to go for winter. So with the windows again on the front, it's identical principle really to the side windows, but with these windows, make sure that the drain sections in the corners are nice and clean and free from muck. I mean, I've just noticed now that perhaps if I took my little brush, that's quite mucky. Yeah, it is. I'll show you in a moment. So you can see how mucky it is there. Well, I'm going to be cleaning the caravan once I've finished filming, so I'll leave it at that. Well folks, that's a few hints and tips on how to clean the windows and skylights. The skylights are the bane of everybody's life. They are a nuisance, but if you keep on top of them throughout the season, it makes it a lot easier of a job. Now the hinge area on the skylights, yes, it's not a brilliant thing, but it's the best thing that I've come up with so far. Now if you've got an idea on how to do it, please drop a line in the comments and share it with everybody. Perhaps I can show it in another video maybe next year. I'd like to thank Phil for asking me to do this video. I did say to him I'd do it next year, but because the caravan's so filthy, it was a perfect opportunity. Cover's going on after I've cleaned it in a minute. So all in all, I'd just like to say thank you for dropping by on watching this video, and I'll see you soon in the next one. Bye for now.